Welcome back to the Educational Currency Podcast. I'm Chris Kaladikis from Maximum Education.
I'm Robert Namoski from the Coaching College and Ultimate Jiu-Jitsu. And today we are very excited to meet my new principal. Okay, welcome on, Mr. Paul Humble.
Thank you. It's very, very nice to be here.
Yes. So yeah, he's just like me. I just joined the school probably about 6-7 months ago. And he's been at the school a few months. We've all were very eager and waiting his arrival. And so welcome to the school and welcome to our podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And look, with today's episode, Paul, we want to learn all about you, about your past and what's kind of brought you to where you are in your career, and any types of tips and advice you can give out from the wide experience that you have, and essentially how our fellow audience and teachers out there can take that on board and, hopefully follow in the same successful footsteps.
We'll see how we go.
So we'll start off right from the beginning then. So tell us about your journey. What led you into teaching?
A series of bad mistakes and missteps, which sounds a bit odd, but I didn't get into teaching until later. So I was 30 when I started. Prior to that, I graduated from high school in 1985 in Brisbane and had gone through a range of different jobs, from working in a bank, from working in HR, from a mail and parcel centre. I was a greenkeeper for a while. And eventually I thought to myself, I need to do something that's really deep inside me, something I'm passionate about. And I enrolled into a Bachelor of Social Work. And so I did a year of social work study. And then one day, pouring down with rain in Armidale, and I hiding in the bus stop to get a bus back down to the college that I was living in. And somebody had left a copy of a book called Bullfinch's Mythology. And it's a dirty, great big book. And so I picked it up and took it back, and I was going to run it back up to the library the next day. I had no idea about anything to do with ancient history or mythology, but I basically read that in one day.
Wow.
And went and changed my major the next day. And so I changed from social work into a Bachelor of Arts, majoring in classical languages and ancient history.
Wow.
And much to my dad's shock and horror, what are you going to do with that degree? You're going to keep going from degree to degree and not get anything out of it. But did what a lot of art students do and just progressed into a diploma of teaching. And from my very first prac at Kingscliff High School up on the far north coast, that was it.
Wow.
I was done. And so that's what took me there. And I haven't looked back.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And so you would have been a HSIE teacher?
I was.
Yeah.
I was, yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. And so from that point then, you did your first prac. Where did you kind of go then for your first employment as a teacher?
Right. So I had gained, the appointment of being a targeted graduate.
Wow.
In New South Wales. And I said to them I was very happy to go anywhere in the state. And so I thought for sure I'd be going out to Bourke or to Cobar, a rural and remote area. But I got sent to Hoxton Park High School in Western Sydney. And it was, without doubt, as a teacher, the richest, most rewarding 5 years I ever did. It was tough. And it was a school that needed some love, but everything that you did for the kids. The kids appreciated it so much. And from a teacher's perspective, the camaraderie and the togetherness that is born out of working in a school like that was just brilliant. And I was always of the mind that if I could teach there, I could teach anywhere. And, I had a brilliant head teacher by the name of Roger Berry, who went on to become an inspector. But he grounded me in a way that I think set me up perfectly for any of the leadership things that I did into the future. He was just a brilliant mentor.
Wow. And we talk about that quite often, about the impact mentors have on us early in our career. Yeah.
So because you said grounded you, what was the one thing that you could pinpoint and say, okay, this was a major contributing factor from the grounding, especially for young teachers watching, etc.
You don't know everything.
Really?
No. And I came in full of confidence, and I'm a fairly confident person naturally, but Roger was able to bring me aside and say, sometimes you come across in a way that might be perceived as arrogant, or you might speak up when you shouldn't, or you might voice things in a way that maybe aren't connecting with this community. So I'm going to work with you to help you do that, because it was an incredibly multicultural school. And for a boy from Brisbane to come into a multicultural space, it was totally foreign, totally foreign. And so having to adapt the way that I communicated, adapt the way that I listened was really, really important. And Roger was so good. He would just take the time, and it wasn't just with me, it was with all the young staff that were in that history faculty. He would just take the time to sit with you and just go over anything that you asked. He would critique what we did. He would critique our phone calls. You know, we would be making phone calls from the staff room, and he would sit there and listen. And at the end of the week, he'd critique with you, how did that phone call go? This is how you could have done it better. So working with him allowed me to realise that it wasn't just what went on in a classroom. It was about relationships. It was about how did you establish yourself with the people that you're charged with looking after. Now, whether that's the top flying students or the kids that really, really need some assistance, you're there for them. And it was the way that he ran his faculty. It was brilliant.
It's beautiful.
And you said he went on to become an inspector. Is that a police officer inspector or?
No, inspector of the public school. It's like I think he was down around the Camden area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
If you're out there, Roger, thank you.
Have you on the podcast?
Yes, he would have had an inspector on before. Wow.
Yeah, no way.
And look, that's beautiful too. My actual first role was teaching out west as well, and it's a different socioeconomic area, and just you do learn quite quickly. Like sometimes the bigger impact is not the academic prowess that you give these young people, but the support and and that motivation of these people from these tougher backgrounds, and just seeing them just try.
Yeah,
like so rewarding.
And if you can be there for somebody, it was really interesting. They always said, it doesn't matter what the kid comes to school like. You have no idea what their morning has been. So you just need to be consistent. And that's something I've taken through everything that I've ever done. Irrespective of what my day's been like, I will show up every day and try and be as consistent as I can possibly be to bring a sense of, I guess, calm and comfort and whatever to the people that I have to deal with. And so that was a really important lesson as well. You don't know what their morning's been, so you just need to be consistent, and you need to take them on face value, care for those kids. Yeah,
because like you said, there could be anything going on in their lives, but you're like a rock. You know, if we look to Mr. Humble, he'll be the same as always.
Yeah, and I think too, as I've progressed in leadership roles around the place, I realised that became just as important for every staff member that I work with and every parent that I deal with. So you get the same version of me. Unless Queensland lose the state of origin, then I give myself 1 day.
So that's one thing that never changed.
Are we safe now?
No. I'm still within that period of mourning.
Yeah, we on our WhatsApp chat, I kind of saw that. We really dug into him.
Yeah.
Oh, gee. Well, then. You've had a great start, and you kind of alluded to now just how you've took that management role and kind of then became more supporting staff and supporting the wider community.
Yeah.
What were the first steps in the direction of moving through middle management then for you?
I think, it was Hoxton Park High School. It was in my second year, and there was a year coordinator's job up. No one wanted to do it. Oh. And so I thought, all right, I'll give it a go. And again, I think because I was older, there was a perception from the students especially that I'd been teaching a lot longer than I had been. So I, again, was able to get into a space where I took the time to learn from really good people and watch what they did. And so there was a range of year coordinators, obviously, in the years above me, and they took me under their wing. Some of them were younger than me, but took me under their wing and just said, this is how you work with these kids in a pastoral space. And so I'm a bit of an anomaly insofar as I've gone through middle management predominantly in the welfare space. I did a little bit of time in curriculum, but predominantly it's been in the welfare space. And I just had an affinity for it. And I think it comes from wanting to see every student succeed and wanting to be able to, again, provide them with a sense of purpose in their lives. And so it's just gone from there.
Yeah, oh, that's great to hear. Like, I'm a wellbeing guy myself, and I'm with you on that too. It's very special yet very rewarding work too, and it constantly motivates you to those small wins, isn't it?
Always, always. You get that one student that you can get to come to school 2 days in a row. or that one student that will go home and actually talk to their parent and have a conversation. And, you don't do this job ever for money or for accolades, but there are times when years down the road you'll run into somebody that you've taught before, and you'll have a conversation with them, and they'll say something to you about the impact that you had on them. And I won't remember it. I won't remember the interaction or the conversation, but for that kid, it in some cases can be life-changing. And I mean, if you can go to work sometimes and have that influence and have that sense of satisfaction for what you're able to do, what a great job.
Yeah.
What a great job.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's life-changing. You feel like you're doing something productive in this world, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's the best job on the planet.
Yeah.
That's absolutely. That's one of the things where we're trying to get across with this podcast.
Yeah.
And especially, with this one, Meet the Principal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now for younger teachers, and you've kind of have mentioned it already, what's one thing a beginner teacher needs to be careful of? What would you say you've seen in your experience where you see them burn out quickly?
Yeah. Look, burnout's one thing. I think the best bit of advice, and again, it goes back to Roger Berry, the best bit of advice that I ever got was, you're not their friend, but you're friendly. All right? And so being able to ensure that you continually understand that you're the adult in the room. And I think for a young teacher, that's a really important step to take. You are the adult in the room. You are the one that has the knowledge. You're the expert. And, you maintain a friendly persona, and you are always engaging, and you're always approachable, but you're not their friend. Because there are going to be times when you need to, engage in behaviour management strategies. That was the best bit of advice that I got. But as far as burnout's concerned, you got to pace yourself. You really do. I mean, you can't be all things to all people. Sometimes, and you and I know a couple of youngsters at St. Mary's and St. Mina's who will do everything and put their hand up to do everything. And at some point, that's going to catch up with you. You've got to pace yourself. And as much as you want to get involved in everything, it's about making sure that you also have time for yourself, and you also have time to reflect upon your own, mental health and well-being, your own physical health and well-being. So I think going back to what you're asking about burnout, you've got to have leaders in the school that will get the youngsters and say, right, settle down. We love what you do, but you've got to take care of yourself too. And I think that's an important thing for all schools to be able to do, is to nurture their young staff, because you don't want to go through 5 years of having them learn their craft, come out of uni, become really good at what they do, burn out and leave. So you've got to nurture the youngsters. Yeah.
And what are the first signs you see of burnout?
Absenteeism.
A teacher starts missing days.
Yeah. Absenteeism, missed deadlines, those sorts of things. And it's never done out of malice. It's just because at some point you can't keep up. So making sure that, you're on top of them insofar as being able to support them in those spaces, providing them with permission, I think is the right word, to step back a little bit and just readjust and reset. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very.
That's interesting, because that's almost the same identifies that something with the student is going wrong, the absenteeism and missing deadlines. And that's kind of, something might be right here and let's get involved. So,
correct.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't think that it's the same going up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can see that very, very clearly, especially if fatigue is starting to set in for young staff, and there are not appropriate supports in place, then that's what you'll see.
Yeah, wow.
Well, that's my experience anyway.
Yeah.
No, very interesting. Never would have picked that one.
No. And then look, you've done your well-being role, and you've now been a year coordinator. What has then been kind of the nudge that, did you know I'm going to be a principal one day, or was that it's bounce, bounce, bounce?
No, goodness. I don't know anyone that comes into this job saying that's where I want to aspire to. Because I certainly didn't. I enjoyed too much the contact with kids and those relationships. I think the saddest day that I ever had was my first day of being a principal.
Yeah.
Because it was the first day of school, and the two deputies are running around doing their thing, and the year coordinators are there, and everyone's busy, and What's my job on day one? Other than the principal's job, which is also to engage with the kids, but it's not so hands-on.
Yeah.
So no, I never ever thought this. I had desires, I think, maybe to move into a leadership role in the wellbeing space, but I also knew that would be some ways down the track. But then again, I was absolutely passionate about teaching ancient history and what I could bring to kids of this era through the study of the past. And so I would have been quite happy for the most part, I think, in my early career to just stay in the classroom and do those sorts of things. But things conspired in a way that opportunities presented themselves, and I enjoyed the step into different levels of leadership. But again, always with the encouragement of really good principles. And so I think I've been really lucky to have exceptional principles all the way through that have encouraged me to go in particular directions.
Yeah.
So no, it's a really important job.
Wow. And so working under a few principals, that means you probably worked at a variety of schools as well. What are some of the schools you worked at?
So my first independent school was a school in Adelaide called Woodcroft College.
Wow, you've been to multiple states.
Yeah,
You've been all over. Wow.
I know. I often joke that someday I'm going to work somewhere long enough to get long service. But, not so far. But I went down to Adelaide, and my principal down there was a fellow called Mark Porter. And Mark Porter taught me very, very early on that nobody's conscripted to work here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's about, you made a choice, you want to come here, this is what we do, this is how we roll, I'm going to support you with everything that you do, but you've got a job and I need you to do it. And so I actually bumped into him years later as I became a principal for the first time, and thanked him for that, because I thought that's a lesson I sorely needed, to understand that, it's not about me. Not necessarily all about me. You're here to do a job, and I need you to work in a particular way. That was there. Then I moved when my son was born. I moved back to New South Wales and went to St Paul's Grammar School under the legendary John Collier. John Collier then went to St Andrew's Cathedral School, and I think he's now just finishing up at Shaw. But John was just a giant, and also an ancient historian, so we bonded over that. But again, he taught me about what it was like to work in a Christian school from a really strong Christian faith himself. It was remarkable to watch. And so he gave me opportunities in the wellbeing space, then he gave me opportunities in the curriculum space to head up the history faculty. So he was brilliant. I really enjoyed working with him.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. And then obviously from there, where was your first principalship?
The Riverina Anglican College in Wagga.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we got around. But again, something totally different.
Yeah.
An opportunity to work in it wasn't a small school. It was a school of around 750 kids. And it was in a rural setting that wasn't small, that wasn't tiny. And it was, I think, the ideal grounding into principalship.
Yeah.
So no, it was a brilliant opportunity, and so different from Sydney. Partway between Sydney and Melbourne, and so you have the two influences of Victoria and New South Wales, and a community that was crying out for, I guess, an academic focus, which was terrific. I thoroughly enjoyed that aspect of the role in that space. And so we were able to do some amazing things that are continuing on today. So that was a really good opportunity for myself. Yeah.
And how did you find that too? Because I've only ever taught in the city. What is the differences when you are teaching in a town that's more rural and like pretty much the school and the community are almost inseparable? You go around the corner, their parents are working at the shop where you're eating.
And that was something I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah.
Simply not prepared for it. I was relatively young. I think I was 46. And whilst I think intellectually I knew that I'd be living with the people that I was leading and teaching, it didn't really hit home as a new principal, the way in which that role is held in the community, and then just how accessible I was at that point in time. And I found it a bit confronting most of the way through because you were never off, you know. So when I would watch my kids play soccer or netball and, you know, you'd always have parents wanting to talk to you on the sideline about sport. About school. And you know, you've got to maintain a persona of approachability and friendliness, but you just want to go, listen, I'm watching my kids play.
I'm here to watch the game.
Can we do this on Monday?
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't intentional. It was just that you were accessible at the time. So that was one of the things I think that was most challenging for me, as well as Wagga was special because there was just such a focus on sport.
Yeah.
You know, it's such a sporting community, and it's held up as such a great sporting town, which it is. But until you're in it, and the inter-school AFL competition, when it's in full swing, A, is televised, and B, it's the first thing on the news. At night time, it's massive. And so being in situations like that I'd never, ever experienced, it was brilliant, and it was a wild ride, and it was something that I'll always remember and treasure, but not prepared for.
Yeah.
Just not prepared for. So
you basically sink or swim.
Yeah. But, you know, the other parts of working in a rural community that I found, when I was at Blue Mountains as deputy or St Paul's Grammar School as deputy, if there were mental health issues with kids, I could pick up the phone, I could call someone, there'd be people at the school, you know, within 25 minutes. There's an absolute crisis of mental health assistance in the bush that it was just crippling and so depressing because you had, you know, kids with issues, families with issues, and there was just no support. And again, no one's fault other than the fact that it's a rural and remote community and it's difficult to get those services. And so that was really confronting. Being able to lead a community, as you would both know as educators, you're more than just teachers. You're also in the wellbeing space and adolescent mental health and all that sort of stuff. When you can't access those services for kids, that adds a layer of complexity on what you do that really brings into sharp focus what the needs of these kids are.
So you indirectly become the mental health practitioner.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And you've got to try and upskill staff, you know, and some staff are brilliant in that space. Others find it really, really confronting. And one thing I heard recently from a lady I really admire, Bryony Scott, retired principal now working in the university sector, is that, you know, really in a wellbeing space, unless you're a trained psychologist or counsellor, you don't have the kit to be able to deal with things that are at that level and provide advice that is grounded in your expertise. It's really hard. Yeah. So, you know, working in that space, that was probably the biggest challenge in the rural setting.
Yeah, that's true, because like I've experienced training, and your ultimate goal in the teaching capacity is to be able to refer them to someone to go to. But when you don't have that facility, that would be a massive challenge for that community.
Oh, huge. And, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And so I went down there and within a couple of weeks, there was one student that was, had real issues. And I said, all right, we'll just call Headspace. And they just looked at me and went, what?
Yeah.
I said, we'll call it. And they went, no, it's not Sydney, Paul. It's not how this works. Let's see how we go. But, you know, it was really difficult. It was really difficult. And so, you know, Wagga's not small. It's the same size as Bathurst, Orange and Mudgee combined.
Okay.
Right? So it's a decent sized place. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 big independent Catholic schools, independent/Catholic plus the public schools. So there's a big student population and no services.
Yeah, I'm surprised with that. Like, so especially Wagga's not a little place.
No, and
it's not Broken Hill.
And you know, the people that work in adolescent mental health down in that space do an absolutely amazing job. And again, I haven't been there now for 5 years. Hopefully it's changed. But at that time, you know, they were going well and truly above and beyond and there just wasn't the staff to be able to do it.
Yeah.
No.
So there were not enough practitioners,
No.
or just no one at all.
No, not enough practitioners. I mean, and you can only do what you can do. Do you know what I mean? It's not as though, if things happen in Western Sydney, then you can draw from different areas of Sydney, and there's opportunities. But it's just it's a whole other thing when you're working in the bush.
Yeah.
It's a whole other thing. And I didn't. Again, it's one of those things that I just didn't realise when I moved down there.
Did it have an effect on you in any way? Or how did you maintain your, for example, your mental health? Because seeing that is confronting, especially not being able to see it before.
I think that was where I learnt that there was a certain level of detachment that I needed to have to be able to not get too overly involved, or I guess overly involved is the wrong word. It comes back to consistency. I had to put the face on the fact that we'll be okay.
Because this is great advice for people who are stepping into that field.
Yeah.
From if you're a year coordinator, you're stepping in for the first time.
Yes.
And I had a student that I tutored, and he became a year coordinator, and a student passed away from cancer, and it really affected him, because you do get that emotional attachment to the group.
Oh, without a doubt. We had an issue that was horrible, and I don't know whether it's appropriate or not, but I had to support staff that were speaking to the coroner, because we had a student take their own life, and it was just awful. In a community that knows everybody. B, so having to look out, and I probably didn't handle it as well as I could have, because flying blind at that point in time. But caring for that family, caring for the kids at school, caring for the teachers.
And then practically everyone turns to you, eh?
Yeah.
Because you're the principal, and it's like, okay, he'll magically have the answers.
I wish.
Especially in an independent context too,
it is.
Like you really are top of the chain. You don't always have a system to refer to beyond you, do you?
No, and it's like we were part of a system.
Yeah.
But Wagga was at the furthest end. Like the epicenter was Goulburn.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you spread very wide.
Yeah.
But I must say, the other principals from Wagga, from all the different Catholic and public schools, were brilliant.
Yeah.
They were so good. They rallied around. They offered support. They met with me. Same with the AIS up here in Sydney. The support that was given out to me was fantastic.
Yeah.
So you did have a network of other principals that you can bounce back off, and colleagues, you would say.
In college, so I have my own network that I'm able to talk with, and in times of crises, principals are a very close-knit bunch, and so we will be able to talk with one another.
That's actually good to know. Something that in general community parents don't realise that.
No, well, I mean, I don't think that it's a job that's sustainable if you don't have those networks. You have to be able to reach out, and you can't always talk to your own staff, right? So you don't always have a chairman that you can connect with. I do now. My chairman now is brilliant, and I can connect with him, but you don't always have that. And so if you don't have the opportunity to meet with your peers, and I've got a couple of associations, so HICES is all the independent co-education schools. All those principals are a part of a network, and we meet regularly. Same with AHISA, which is Australia-wide, Australian Principals in Independent Schools Australia-wide. So there's networks there for principals.
Yeah. And I guess one thing that you'd also have to be doing too is you'd be setting up your own work-life balance. As much as you're so invested in these communities, how do you go about a work-life balance when you're so high and so looked toward in the food chain?
Okay, let's go back to Wagga again. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
And that was your first role.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
So at the end of 5 years, I was done. I was shot to bits. I was exhausted mentally and physically, and I lived it 24/7.
Yeah.
And I would, you get to the point where you fear looking at your phone and a whole range of different things, because you get that late night email, and so coming out of that, I made some really strong decisions around what I would do next time, insofar as looking after my own health in that space. And so when you ask the question, how do I look after myself intentionally?
Yeah.
Right? Intentionally. So I don't care how long I stay at work. I don't take work home. I don't care about emails as much as I used to. So as best as I can, come 6 o'clock, I don't look.
And that's a big movement at the moment too, the switching off at school. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm no good to anybody if that's all I'm doing 24/7. I'm no good at home. I'm no good with the staff. I'm no good. I need to be able to go and then lead by example and say, no, it's okay. When you leave here, I understand you're a teacher and all teachers work at home. I get that. But you don't have to live on your phone and you don't have to do your emails 24/7. You know, have a family life, have time with your kids. That's what you're supposed to do. Because I know for a fact that they're, probably over the last 15 years, it just crept and crept and crept where there was this expectation that teachers were on, 24/7. And why didn't you respond to my email at 10:30? Give me a break. That's garbage. That's no way to live. And so I'm really happy with this whole concept of the right to disconnect. And you can peel all that back because we talk and get teachers in burnout. That'll do it.
Yeah, that's right. So that's some great advice. When you take care of yourself, then you can take care of others.
Yeah. I remember when I started at St. Mary's and St. Mina's and I said to the executive, listen, if you need me after 4 o'clock, don't send me an email because I'm not going to get it. If you need me and it's an emergency, you need to call and I'll have my phone and I'll answer a call. But, and I said to them, I expect you to do the same. And for some of them, that's a really challenging thing because they're working on emails and sending things out at 10 o'clock at night. I'll come in the next day and go, what are you doing sending emails at 11 o'clock at night? You crazy person. Stop doing that. Because then, that we as leaders need to lead by example in that space.
Yeah.
Because you retain them as well. You've got good stuff behind you. You don't want in 3 to 4 years' time burn them out, especially after they're well trained up.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Great advice for principals and assistant principals.
Of course. And do you have any hobbies that support you with unwinding too?
Wait.
Yes, I've started to come in early and go to the gym that's at the school.
Very important.
I have to get in really early so that nobody sees me humiliating myself trying to work the gym. But, that's a start. But no, I like to play golf. I like to go to the surf. Eventually I'll get back into fishing and stuff like that. But it's about making time.
Yeah.
To just, I live in a lovely part of the world. And so being out there and just appreciating what it is.
Yeah.
And I've got some really good friends. So, just being able to spend time with them is important.
Oh, that's awesome. And I like even with the gym, as we laughed about it, it's good to hear that you actually said you're active. You're trying to make that time to do something good for your health too.
Yeah.
What time do you get into the gym?
6 o'clock.
That's commitment, see?
Yeah.
But again, it's more out of the fact that nobody needs to see me trying to do that. Let me tell you.
Well, look, I'd call that a win. From that, throughout your career, what would you say are some of your biggest successes?
Right. Personally?
Personally and within your career?
Look, there are some things that are still going on at the schools that I've worked at. So another great leader was a fellow well before his time, a guy called Paul Kidson. He's now, I think he's in charge of teacher education at the Australian Catholic University. He gave me the opportunity to restructure Wellbeing and house culture at St. Paul's Grammar School. And that was my first, I think, real proper project where I had to work with the whole community and work with local parishes and work with schools and kids and alumni and a whole range of different things. And so that structure and that program's all still in place at St. Paul's Grammar School, going on now for nearly 20 years.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. Brought in the International Baccalaureate program in Wagga. So it was the first time that there was an IB school in a rural context. And that led to a refocus on teaching and learning in the rural sense.
And you said the community was demanding that, weren't they? They wanted academic prowess to come into the school.
There was a call for it.
Yeah.
And the very first chairman I had was a guy called Andrew Boucher, and he said, this is something that I think we need to do. And he was supportive in the space of allowing us to go ahead and take a big punt, honestly, because it's not something that you hear of. What people don't often understand about Wagga is that it's a hub for business, it's a hub for medicine. So there's 2 or 3 hospitals. Charles Sturt University is there, so you've got a lot of professional parents as well. And so when we introduced it, it was about not one course, the HSC and the IB being the other course, not one being better than the other. I talked about choice. How do you like to learn? Teaching the IB and learning in an IB setting is very different to the HSC. And so one suits a particular learner, different to others. And so it was really successful. We had cohorts of around about 125 kids per year group, and we would get 25 kids a year.
Wow,
take
that's
it on.
Candidature.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think that's just continued to grow. Craig Mansour is the principal down there now, and I remember having a chat with him as we were introducing it while he was still working out in Dubbo, and he was an advocate back then. So I think they're in good hands.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But we got opportunities then to connect with, on a much more formal level, Charles Sturt University, and work with them. So, it just brought a whole range of different kids that may not have come to that particular school into that space.
Yeah.
So no, it was great.
It's really interesting because what I'm starting to piece from here too is you're very well networked. Like, to bring in a program like that into a school such as Wagga, well, you need the connections, obviously, firstly to know what IB was and how to make that actually work. But then, as you said, you're building connections with the university too. Like, you're not just seeing the school as a school isolated. You're seeing a school as a part of something bigger, and you're building then through those connections, which is amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, it comes from experience. I mean, Woodcroft College was an IB school.
Yeah.
St Paul's Grammar School was an IB school. So I had a bit of experience in that space. And was able to pitch it, I guess, to the chair and the board at the time, and they were very supportive. And so experience and networking, they're all really important because, as you both know, schools aren't standalone entities. It's about community, and it's about what can we become and what can we do for our kids. So, no.
And where'd you go from Wagga?
I went to Bishop Tyrrell Anglican College in Newcastle. Again, very, very different school. In comparison to Wagga. So country kids, for the most part, beach kids.
Nice.
People don't understand Newcastle is very much a beach town. And so we were out in the west of Newcastle, basically between Newcastle and Maitland, a school that needed some TLC, and we had some really good staff at the school, and there was just a chance then, I think, for us to grow into that space. And so, we began to grow as we went through.
And then we got you.
Then you did. And I landed down here.
Great.
No, that's exactly right.
So you walked into us. So what was your first take of us?
First take, I'll go back a little bit.
Yes.
So HISES is a group of schools that it's all about co-educational independent schools.
Yeah.
Bishop Tyrrell Anglican College in stage 3 had won the Northern Division of the debating for the first time. And so we came to Sydney to debate the winner of the Southern Division. And the Southern Division winner was St Mark's, Coptic Orthodox College. And it was a great debate, but I sat back and I watched the St Mark's kids. And they were just dynamic. Our kids were too, but I was just watching these Coptic kids and they were just phenomenal in the way that they went about things. And I thought that's really interesting because there was a strong Coptic culture in Wagga as well. Again, not many people know that, but they're really good families. And lots of Coptic kids ended up coming through to Riverina Anglican College. And so I thought that'd be an interesting space to step into. And then lo and behold, like 2 weeks later, the advertisement comes up for St Mary's and St Mina's. And I applied immediately because I thought this is an opportunity. I haven't worked in Sydney. I'd worked in, at the outskirts of Sydney. And I just kept thinking back to my time, especially at Hoxton Park, into what was a genuinely multicultural school, and what that brought, and the different experiences and the different cultures. And I thought, you know what? I think this could be something that I'd really, really enjoy. And so, lo and behold, that's where I am.
Nice. Good to have you.
Yeah, it's been great. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I mean, the other part of it too, when we talk about independent schools, I had really good meetings with the representatives from the Coptic Education Board. They were terrific. And then my own school board. And so my conversations with my chair, Ross, were brilliant. I was immediately comfortable with the fact that were I to win the position, that there was a level of trust. There was an understanding that I was the CEO and that they were governance, and that there was an appropriate relationship that was there. The trust to allow me to get on and do what I needed to do whilst keeping everybody informed about what was going on, was just fabulous. And that's
Nice.
and that's been borne out through what we've done in the first term and a bit. And so that level of support coming from the board, fabulous.
Awesome. Here's the big question. What are you going to install for us? No pressure. Lots of good
things.
stuff.
Lots
of good stuff.
Yeah,
it's one of those things where when I'm a teacher there, I'm very excited to work there as well.
Yeah.
And now we've had the privilege of having leadership, like really strong leadership coming on board.
The way I look at it, Rob, is this school could be anything.
Yeah.
And one of the great things that drew me to it as much as anything is I saw, how is this relatively small school so consistently in the top 100? And, we talk about the rankings, and the rankings aren't everything, but there's a consistency around that. And that's born out of passionate teachers, passionate parents, dedicated kids, and an understanding that our core business is teaching and learning. We have to be there in the wellbeing space, right? That's part of what we are. But our core business is academics and teaching and learning. And that's what these kids cry out for. And, working at St Mary's and St Mina's, I see it every single day. There is an academic focus. There's a bit too much of a focus on maths, Rob, but,
Really? Never noticed.
but I mean, that in and of itself is amazing. There is a culture that is, I think, dynamic but healthy in their striving continuously to do the very best that they can do. And I think from an educator's perspective, that's really refreshing. There are parts of the job now I understand in and around things like risk and the things that, there's no way in the world that you could do the excursions and the stuff that we used to do way back when in a modern context. It just doesn't work that way anymore. And so I understand that those things are there, child protection, all really, really important. And you've got to have strong school-based processes in place to be able to do it. And if you're part of a system, then you have systemic supports in that space. But to come into a place that says these things are really important, but we're teachers and we teach. And I think, you know what, that's something that I haven't seen in a while. And it was so refreshing.
Yeah, I have to admit, before I even started working, I sent my daughter there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a specific reason why we picked that school for her. Was that focus towards actually teaching.
Yes.
Yeah, so, we send them to a school where the teachers do put in 100% effort to teach.
Absolutely.
That's first and foremost for us.
And we go back to this question about burnout, right? If we continue to pile on to young teachers all this extraneous stuff and don't allow them to focus on practicing their craft, and getting into a space where they can practice their craft for what they studied for, what they got into it for in the first place, then we will lose them. we will lose them to other industries and to other things. And I think everybody gets into this to teach children. And at St Mary's and St Mina's, I find that is, again, at the heart of all the conversations.
Yeah.
And I think it's brilliant.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Obviously Rob was speaking like he's a teacher there, but as he said, you looked at it as a parent first.
I wasn't a teacher there first. I was solely a parent.
Yeah.
And literally was juggling. Now, I've given, decades of advice to parents, with their kids. But when it comes to your kids, there's that certain bit more of anxiety where you're unsure where to go. And, I have to admit, I do know the Coptic community. I have been involved in the background. I've tutored people, especially in the 90s of the Coptic faith. And then me and my wife did go to St. Mark's for Coptic Bible studies. She had Coptic friends. And me obviously dating her, tagged along to that. So I'm well aware and well versed of the Coptic community, and being Orthodox as well. I mean, it's pretty much close as we can to being the same, and it fits like a glove. So for myself as a parent, knowing that she will get the academic first, and then everything else can fall under that, and then as a parent as well, we can organise our sporting events, etc. But now. The school is organising sporting events. They had some great carnivals that we went to, etc. We built a fantastic gym that the teachers can.
Yes,
that we. He's a very big advocate for that. I hear.
When I first walked in there was no gym at all. No. And then within a few months, we had this state-of-the-art facility, elevated on a platform where you get this breeze coming in, and it's been really great. Thank you.
I like to take credit for it, but it all happened before I got there.
It was actually just a month before you came in, and we have a head of PE. I mean, she's a lead teacher as well.
Yeah,
she actually got the same qualifications, and she was, this is great now. Things are really moving forward for us. So what's any plans for the future you can reveal to us?
No,
not
no
yet.
spoilers, Rob. No spoilers.
I will say one thing. I mean, I talked about the academic side of things. One of the things that I thought when I started is there's a relationship with a counselling service called Exodus, right? And so you and I were talking off camera earlier about the fact that a lot of the wellbeing stuff that we do as teachers actually needs to be triage rather than trying to dive deep into stuff that we're not really qualified for. Yeah. And so the relationship that the school has with Exodus is something that I think is absolutely brilliant. We have a relationship. They are a Coptic counselling organisation for the vast majority of people that work there. They come from a Coptic background, perfectly suited to be able to counsel the Coptic school that we're part of. And so we have staff that are able to do the general wellbeing side of things and the welfare and the pastoral care, but we're then able to refer to, in the partnership that we have with Exodus, excellent counsellors.
Wow.
Can you explain to the parents what Exodus is? Any parent watching?
Oh, as far as I know, they're an external group that work in the counselling sphere.
Yeah, great. Just speaking
similar to like Headspace.
Headspace.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah.
But tied very, very strongly to our community.
Yeah.
And the conversations that I've had with the staff at Exodus are just phenomenal. And again, we talk about partnerships. What a great partnership that is. Again, we have an opportunity for our teachers to focus on their teaching and their craft with the knowledge that we've got an organisation and a partnership with Exodus that is just top tier. And so our kids get the benefit of not just exceptional teachers who care, but also a relationship that is always there for them with Exodus.
Yeah. So although you're independent, still kind of connected to the community, which is a great opportunity.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. The more and more I've seen the way they work and the way in which they collaborate with the community, the more I'm sitting here thinking this is just a brilliant setup.
Yeah.
So whoever it was that set that up, thumbs up.
Done.
Yeah, it was great.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
It is.
One of the things you kind of identified too is like obviously prior to coming to St Mary's and St Mina's, you're able to kind of almost be intrigued by it and know like that would be a good place to go to grow and to learn. You obviously have a good eye for picking schools and picking good schools. So like from like a prospective teacher working in a school or even as a parent, what would you say are the key things that kind of identify this is a good school to send my kids to?
I think it's the same with everything.
Yep.
You really have to make sure that it's the right fit.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, definitely.
It's got to be the right fit for your faith proposition. It's got to be the right fit for what you want from an academics perspective. Yeah, is it a school that focuses on the arts? Is it a school? You got to do your homework.
Yeah.
And it's like when teachers are looking, where do I want to go and work? I give you the hot tip. If it's not the right fit, don't go because it's just miserable. All right. And so it's the same, I think, when you're looking for what school do I send my children to. If it's a faith-based school, you absolutely have to be all in on what that is because that's a big commitment, and you can't fudge it. You actually got to buy into the fact that this is the faith proposition that I want to buy into. And buy into is probably not the right term, but this is the faith proposition that I want my children to be involved with. And so if you're looking for an independent school, and we'll talk about independent schools, we haven't worked in the public system for a long time, there is a lot of choice at the moment. I'm realising that in Sydney, a lot more choice than in Newcastle or in Wagga. Like, you can go anywhere you like. But it's got to be the right fit. And you've got to be going there for the right reasons. And so my advice to any families that are looking to send their kids to an independent school is do your homework.
Yeah.
Do your homework because just because it's good for your friend or your friend's kids it's not going to be right for you. Come and talk to the staff. Come and spend some time. Interview. I mean, as much as anything, parents need to interview us to make sure it's the right place for us to go, for them to send their kids. So that would be my advice.
Oh, that's an excellent answer, eh?
Yeah. Because, I don't know of very many bad schools.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People who are teachers are there for a reason and they – within the context of their school, they do a brilliant job, whether it's independent, public, Catholic, it makes no difference. They're hardworking people that do a really good job that are experts in their field. So when you're in Sydney, and just say we're in our area, you're spoiled for choice.
Yeah.
So take the time, go around, check it out, and make the right call.
Yeah, from my experience, that's what stresses the parents out.
Yeah, does it?
Yeah, it's actually
right.
If it was a smaller town, you'd have your school. Okay,
Correct.
When you are spoiled for choice, it's like maybe it's that stress. Am I making the right choice?
Yeah.
Will it be a good fit for my child?
That's one of the things. I mean, I've obviously doing a lot of interviews now for kids coming into Year 7, and with St Mary's and St Mina's, you'll make up half of Year 7 from the kids that are currently in Year 6 at the primary school, and the rest will be made up by kids coming in from external. And that's the conversation. Mum and Dad, what do you want from a school? This is what we are. This is who we are. We're unashamedly this. Does this meet your expectations? And if it does, fabulous. But, if it's not, no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
We're all in this to try and do our best. So, yeah, that's my advice. Make sure you get fully informed and are comfortable that is where you want to go.
Yeah, no, that is excellent advice.
It's a 6-year investment.
Yeah,
100%.
It's a 6-year investment, and you've got to be comfortable with where you're at because we all know to try and move your kid halfway through high school, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare. So don't rush it.
Yeah.
Start looking, especially if we're talking, going into high school, start looking in Year 5.
Yeah.
Start looking in Year 5. So, yeah.
No, excellent advice there. And look, you mentioned like you worked in the public system and now you're deeply in the independent schools. What are some of the extra challenges of independent schools and being the principal of an independent school? Because, you are kind of your own ship. You said you've got networks and all that, but like things just like you're managing the school's budget and funding and like if a teacher's away and you're a smaller school, like there's greater impacts internally, isn't there?
Yes, there is. And you hit on budgets and finances. I think probably is the biggest difference because I am responsible for that. I have an amazing CFO called Ursula Walters who's just outstanding. But, I mean, it's up to us to manage that space. Now, we do that in conjunction with our board and finance committees and all that sort of stuff. But the day-to-day running of the finances and the operational side of things falls to us.
Yeah.
And so we need to be, very prudent financial managers. with what we do, whilst also allowing for the best possible educational experience. And so when we're talking around budgets, and I don't know what it's like to be a principal in the public system or in a systemic Catholic school, but I'm budgeting now. So for 2026, my budget process is 2 weeks old.
Yeah, wow.
And so we're starting to look towards, right, so what does the timetable look like for next year? We want to offer some different courses. What's the impact is that going to be on staffing? I want to be able to bring in new learning management system. What does that look like? Well, I often talk about how do we slice up the pie. The size of the pie never really changes. It's where do we want to allocate our focus for that particular year. And so I think from an independent school's perspective, you have to have a certain level of financial acumen to be able to do the job effectively, but you also have to surround yourself with people that understand what they're doing too. So I think that's part of it. I think that's probably the biggest difference because you are genuinely the CEO of that school.
Yeah. And that's interesting, because from someone from at my point in the career, you glamorize the idea of being a principal, but then this stuff happening behind the scenes, we have no idea.
Yeah. We gather it's stressful.
Yeah.
When you see him in the office, he hasn't come out, you think, okay.
I mean, sometimes you can't get out, but I mean, it's always that, the anxiety and whatever stress you feel around that level of responsibility is always tempered by the fact that the decisions that you make will improve the quality of what happens at the school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's about, I always say my job is to provide staff with an environment where they can do their very best and where students can excel, right? So if I can go about my budgeting process with the mindset that every decision that I make is designed to make this a great place to work, which will then flow on to great results for kids, then that keeps me pretty grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what do you look for when hiring? So a person comes in for an interview, so you could put down 2 or 3 points for say, university students that are watching, prospective teachers that would want to come to St. Mary's and St. Mina's and work. What are your couple of points where you go, okay, well, this.
Okay, I'll give you the one that says, wow, I'm not hiring you. And that is, for the love of all things, don't say, I want to work here because it's close to my house. All right? Don't do that.
Don't do that. So that's a no.
That's a big no.
Do people actually say that?
All the time. All the time. Does my head in. Because, again, that might be accurate, right? But that's not what you want to hear.
Right.
What do I want to hear?
What do you look for?
I look for somebody who is a passionate teacher first, right? And I don't care if they're 30 years into the gig or 30 minutes into the gig. If you can convey a passion for what you do, now let's talk about some of the staff that we've got at our school. These guys have been working in education for sometimes nearly 40 years and they're as enthusiastic as they were on day one. I mean, that's what you want. You want these people that are just passionate about working with kids, love their subject, and I think that's really important, love their subject and are experts in their subject. So I look for that. I look for a genuine passion for working with young people. And you can tell because I see it in my sister every time I talk to her, but you can see a born kindergarten teacher 3 seconds into the conversation and because they're a totally special breed, right? I mean, I look at kindy teachers and go, you're just not getting paid enough because it's what they do is phenomenal because, by the time they get to, and I'm a secondary teacher, by the time they get to us, if the literacy's not right and the reading's not right and the numeracy's not right, then it's really hard to try and get that right. So, really good kindy teachers and infants teachers, you can tell 30 seconds into them that they are passionate about literacy and getting these kids off to the right start, and that's who you go for. There has to be a level of passion in it. If there's just someone, again, I fell into the idea of teaching, but one prac in went, this is where I want to go. But if you're there because it's the only gig that you've got in town and that comes across in an interview, then I'd much rather have somebody possibly less qualified but far more passionate because I can work with that. You know what I mean? I can work with that all the time. So one of the things that I look at, again, comes into the word fit. Are you the right fit for this group? Right? And I don't mean I want clones of everybody. I don't, because I want people to come in who are going to challenge the status quo. But do you have the same work ethic? Do you have the same passion for kids? Do you have the same drive to be somebody who's involved in a culture of continuous improvement and learning? And if you're the right fit in that space, then you'll probably get a job with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Great.
You can't fake passion.
No, you can't.
No,
you can't. But again, I come back to it all the time. Fit. It's got to be the right fit.
Yeah.
And, if you're not the right fit, then it's not good for you coming into it, because I learned, if you've got to try and fake who you are the whole time, it's just not going to work. But it's also not good for the organisation.
No.
So we need to have really open and honest conversations about, is this the right place that you want to come and work?
Yeah. And, and we are in quite a unique time right now too as well, because it's almost like there's a limited bag out there. We're on the back of the teacher shortage, which is obviously making hiring harder. And if I jump back to Wellbeing again too, we're in both staff and students, it's quite a unique time in Wellbeing too, with external pressures of social media.
Oh, yeah.
What impacts are you seeing in that facility, and hard to approach?
Look, I go back to my deputy days. The vast majority of the wellbeing and, say, bullying issues that I ever had to deal with virtually never happened at school. They happened at 10 o'clock at night when everybody thought the phones were off, and it was all happening on social media, and it was all happening, via text. Parents knew nothing about it, and that level of inability to disconnect. Right? See, when I went to school, I'm a dinosaur, but I knew that if I'd had a rough day at school, I wasn't going to have to see anybody or talk to anybody, or possibly for 2 days if it was over the weekend. And so when I went back into school, it was a fair bit of time had passed and things had probably calmed down. These kids live in a 24/7 cycle of information, and it's just continuous. And so I think from my perspective, one of the hardest things is working with our families to be able to empower them with enough education and information around the power of the device that they're handing to their kids for them to be able to manage. I was talking at the recent conference that I was at about how much schools have encroached on what was probably considered to be traditional parenting. And there's a movement now to try and step back from that, and rather than us being, the protectors of the kids around a whole range of different things, empowering parents to once again take on that parenting role in things like, how do they deal with their social media? What are they accessing? What ways in which they're talking, the kids are talking to one another. And the challenge, I think, in that space is that parents are so far behind in their understanding. And they're so busy with their own work and all those sorts of things. It's fallen to schools to be that, to take on that role. I don't know how you fix that. I don't. But trying to educate and empower parents who may not necessarily want to be educated or empowered to step into that space, because for lots of them it's terrifying. And so it's always difficult, because I think with technology it changes so rapidly. We talked briefly about AI, and I love the way in which AI is beginning to reshape everything that we're thinking about in education. But how do we get that to where we need to with the parents to get them on board with what does that look like? It's going to be the next challenge over the biggest challenge over the next 2 or 3 years, I think, because somebody said something to me I think it was last year, that AI is currently the worst it will ever be. And it's only just going to get better and better and better, and we can't keep up. So what does that look like? And some of the things that's coming out from Microsoft, that are coming out from Microsoft at the moment, I was sitting there today going, I just cannot wrap my head around how fast that's going. It's just brilliant. So when we're talking about, how do we help our parents, it's one of those things we're going to have to sit down as a school and as an industry and as a sector and really set some parameters around what that might be.
Well, and I think with that, something like AI too, that's across all industries. They reckon that's going to be the leading industry 4.0, they're calling it, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be a complete revolution of all of us.
Absolutely. And we can't afford to try and sweep it aside. And and we can't afford to try and keep it out of our classrooms and keep it out of our assessments. It has to be there. It's ubiquitous. It's already there.
Yeah.
And if we try to turn away from it and not take it on board, we're doing our kids a disservice. And we're doing ourselves a disservice as an industry by trying to hold back the ocean. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we then now have to move into a space with how do we do this effectively?
Yeah.
How do we do this safely? And how do we keep up the integrity of the teaching profession whilst utilising this amazing tool that is AI?
What? Just jumping back to our conversation, what were some of the interesting things you saw with AI could be bringing to education and supporting us as educators?
Well, supporting us as educators, this one element of Copilot was reorganising my inbox. And I thought to myself, well, that's going to give me back I don't know how many hours a week. But again, little things like that, helping with marking schemes, not marking schemes. Okay, not marking schemes.
We still mark.
The writing of programs, the linking of syllabus documents, all being done in an AI context that then gives back to teachers some time to be able to do their own professional learning, get back onto the idea of teachers teaching. And so a lot of it was around, and it was a conversation that was being had from the teachers at the MLC school. And they were talking about the fact that their adoption of AI, and it was the full suite of Copilot, had given their staff back anywhere up to 9, 10, 11 hours a week.
Wow.
By the way in which they had incorporated that into their daily lives as teachers. And, it's taken a while to do it, and there's a cost that comes with it. But I think if we can move in that direction and give teachers back time to be able to do their pedagogical stuff, happy days.
Wow.
But again, we're at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And who knows where it's going to be.
Well, that's it. Even just 6 to 12 months, it just keeps revolutionizing in the media that it creates and, and how its responsiveness. It's exciting, it's scary, but it's amazing what
the keynote speakers were saying, don't ask me where it's going to be in 5 years' time. I got no idea.
Yeah.
And these are the experts in the field. And they're going, look, we can hazard a guess as to where we're going to land with this stuff, but we don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know.
No. You're waiting for Terminator, aren't you?
Oh, who, me? No. After my incident on Monday, had a slight mishap with my car on Monday, but all here, no problem. In your closing remarks, now we're at St. Mary's and St. Mina's, we're, like I said, we're very excited to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very excited. It came to a notion of now, great, we got leadership, and you yourself gave us that 15 minutes to, have a chat with the principal, give him a rundown on what we needed as teachers, and that was quite exciting around with the teachers getting our voices heard. From your perspective, what you probably answered already. What do you look for in a teacher for leadership? Are there any qualities or personality types that...
Because you can be a really good classroom teacher, but not always great for leadership. Like, what shows that person's ready to go further up the ladder?
Their willingness to learn. You have to be able to... I learn every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can talk to people like Rob. I can talk to people at the school. I can talk to parents. I talk to kids, and I learn from them every day, and it helps shape me in my own professional culture of continuous improvement, right? I don't think that as human beings we're ever complete. We always have to keep learning. So from somebody that is looking to move into that space, I'll take anybody on. If they're willing to learn and listen and be engaged in a collaborative, backwards and forwards relationship with me and their other mentors, then brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant. There are some people that have got some natural born leadership skills and instincts, and you can work with them. But there's also people that have got a really big heart for service, who want to serve, and you can teach them and work with them. And it's about, again, fit. Where within the puzzle of a school, if you want to lead, are you best suited to fit and make the best impact? And if you've got at the heart of what you do, I want to be able to improve the daily lives of my kids and my peers, happy days.
Yeah.
But if you're in it to get some time off and get some money,
You don't get time off.
Possibly
No,
not.
you're working harder. The higher, higher up you get, the less time you have.
I always said that as a well-being leader compared to a curriculum leader. I hear the curriculum guys all the time talking about, it's so hard. But, as a curriculum leader, I knew that if I had free periods, they were my free periods.
Yeah.
All right. As a well-being guy, no free periods.
Anything can happen and it will happen.
No, there's no such thing as a free period. So if you're passionate about that sort of stuff and you're passionate about kids, then, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at, what can we do to provide you with some opportunities, even if there's no leadership positions at the moment. How about a little mini passion project? How about something that you might want to lead that improves the stuff that we do at the school? Now, I'll give you some time and I'll give you some training and I'll give you some dollars to be able to go and do it without a leadership position. And if you're up for that sort of stuff, then that shows that you're passionate about what you do. I've got a teacher at the moment at school who gets no time, no nothing for being the debating coach. And I'm looking at the way in which these kids are performing at debating, and it is blowing my mind. Yeah. And it's about a teacher who wants to give to those kids.
Yeah.
And I think that's just brilliant.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
Yeah.
My daughter's on the team.
Yeah, there you go.
She's going. They won the debate.
But I mean,
she's brilliant.
That sort of stuff. But again, it comes back to you can't do that forever.
Yeah.
You've got to be able to provide them with pathways. And as much as it is painful, if that means preparing them to go elsewhere, so be it.
Yeah. You're empowering them with the tools.
One of my really important jobs is to provide my staff with the opportunities and the skills to go to where they need to go, even if that means it's not at my school.
Yeah.
As much as that's hard. I mentioned Paul Kidson before. When he came into St Paul's Grammar School and he assembled his executive, he said, if you're all here in 5 years, then I've failed.
Yeah.
And bar one, we were all at different schools in leadership positions.
Wow.
And so he had done his job as far as he could see. Yeah. That then allows for, new leaders to come through and a whole range of different things. So, no, that's what I look for. If you're passionate, then, let's get going.
That's great.
Great. Yeah.
Well, look, my final question to you is there are people watching this. There's Year 12 students out there contemplating going to teaching, or people such as yourself, mature age students who think coming in and joining teaching. Any advice you'd like to give them to hopefully bring them our way?
If you're passionate, do it. Look, I talked to my son and I think 5 years ago I would have said don't do it.
Yeah.
Because I thought, the things are becoming way too complicated. So much going away from the teaching and learning side of things. Nessa was overly burdensome. I probably overthought these things. But now, when I'm able to step back and again, working at St Mary's for this and St Mina's for this little period of time, if you find a school that meets the same level of commitment and drive in areas that you love, what a great place to go to work. My dad said to me a long time ago that if I can get up and go to work and not be miserable every time I think about it, that's a win. And I think if you're getting into teaching, you're doing it because you've got a passion for your subject area and for working with young people. What a great place to go. What a great place to work. Best job in the world.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this is one of the reasons we started the podcast.
Yeah.
To, give people a view of the profession.
Yeah.
It really reshapes society. There's no way you can look at that
and
any other way.
The only reason we get really good young teachers coming through is because they've had experiences with great teachers when they were at school.
Yeah.
I mean, we can all remember great teachers at school. And I'm going back 40-year anniversary this year that I graduated school. And I have the most vivid of memories of this wonderful biology teacher. I was the worst biology student you ever had in your life, right? Useless. But Jan Scriven was her name, and I think she's still kicking on in her 90s, was just an exceptional person. And when I think about why did I end up in the teaching space, I think without really thinking about it, it was Jan Scriven. And as you're watching Jan, good job.
Good job.
But, she was just a remarkable, remarkable woman. And that's why vast majority of people get into it. I've been a couple of kids in Year 12 saying we want to be teachers. And it's because of who they've had teaching them. So great. I love that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I love that.
Yeah, nothing beats that. And thank you so much again for coming.
Yeah.
My absolute pleasure.
We're very excited again to meet the principal.
Yeah, we're honoured to have your professionalism and wisdom. Like, I've learned so much just from listening to you here.
My pleasure, fellas.
Yeah.
Anytime.
No, thank you very much, Paul.
Terrific.
Yep. Thank you once again. If please like, subscribe. We're getting phenomenal people on sharing their decades of wisdom and experience. If you have any comments, feel free to write them down. I'm Robert Namoski.
And I'm Chris Kaladikis. Thank you very much, you guys. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you,
My
Paul.
pleasure. Thanks, everyone.
You. Absolutely. That was brilliant.
Was it right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. You fantastic, Paul.
Okay.
Mate, that was, I could, from 10 things you said, I could roll up 10 episodes.
Yeah.